Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back, and I want to thank all of you for the great feedback on the podcast we did yesterday. It's wonderful that so many of you are taking action on the information and the lists we gave you with regards to helping folks in times of emergencies and, fires in California and, hurricanes, unfortunately, in North Carolina, and earthquakes pretty much everywhere else.
Blizzards.
So, blizzards, exactly, happening now. Yes, so make sure, and if you did not listen to yesterday's podcast, you go back and do so, and make sure you get the notes. And remember, the notes from today's podcast, like every podcast, are only available to our newsletter subscribers. And the best part is, it doesn't cost you anything. So just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and get the notes from today's podcast, from yesterday's podcast, and the literally thousands of other podcasts that we've done in the past. Use these notes for yourself, you're in education, for social media posts maybe, for educating agents in your team, your brokerage. It does not matter. We've created this content for you. So subscribe to harrisrealestatedaily.com. Remember, when you do, drop your email address into the little box at Harris Real Estate Daily. You have to take the next step, which is pop over to your own email, and then you have to double opt in or confirm that you want the subscription, and then you'll receive your first edition right away. And remember, it's free, so do that immediately. All right, Julie, so today's podcast is Small Habits Equals Big Deals, Unlock Real Estate Success.
That's right, and we're going to talk about understanding something called the accumulation effect. Now, this is something that all of our coaches know and teach, and our coaching clients, especially ones that have been with us for a while, practice and are already seeing great success as a result. So what is the accumulation effect? Here's your definition. It's the principle that small but consistent actions or habits compound over time, leading to significant outcomes. Positive actions create momentum towards success, but you also can have negative actions or inaction that result in deviation or stagnation. So you can work the accumulation effect in a positive or in a negative way. So I'm going to open with an example that's called the 1 in 60 rule. In aviation, the 1 in 60 rule states that being 1 degree off course results in being 1 nautical mile off for every 60 miles traveled. On a transcontinental flight from New York to LA, being just 1 degree off could place you 40 nautical miles from your destination, potentially landing in a completely different city. Like, for example, in this case, if you were headed for LA, but you've been off the whole time, you're going to end up in Thousand Oaks instead of LA. That could be a problem. So your takeaway, small daily decisions, positive or negative, even to 1 or 2 degrees, can determine where you end up in the long run. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's interesting, this accumulation effect topic, because it's something that a lot of people intellectually understand but very rarely practice, because the accumulation effect means that you have to oftentimes do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it over periods of time that are a hell of a lot longer than you think they should be.
And that will always be the case.
But that's the thing that's hard to understand, especially when you're younger. And by younger, I mean forever, really, for your entire life. Like, you want everything to happen about 10 times faster than it actually is going to take. And the truth is that nothing that's worth having in your life is going to happen quickly. It's always going to take longer, minus maybe winning the lottery, right?
Right.
But it's always going to take longer than you think it should. And that's really I think that's the most important part. So I'm going to say it again, and please remember this. So, the accumulation effect is only going to be experienced if you accept the fact that you can have ever-increasing levels of success in your business and personal life if you do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And it's, like I said, it's going to take longer periods of time. So for long periods of time, often longer than you think it should. Now, do I mean that you have to be in misery for 10 or 20 years? No, I do not. Because here's for example, let's say, for example, you like to do open houses, whatever it is. You're not going to feel like doing open houses for the 10th Sunday in a row in the spring. You know what I'm saying? There's going to come a time, even when the things that you enjoy doing aren't enjoyable anymore. And so that's where you enter into the realm of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. The third part of the saying that Julie and I created years ago, at the highest level, is the hardest part. Yes. Because a lot of people will, I'm going to make my prospecting calls today. I used the scripts. I did the work. I set no appointments. Well, let's listen to your calls. And the calls are not good because they weren't doing it at the highest level.
No, they're just getting through it.
Right, exactly. And if you're just getting through it, not doing it at the highest level, you're never going to benefit from the accumulation effect. And I'll even make it even more practical. If you guys, you know what compounding interest is, hopefully. And if you don't, oh, it's one of Julie's points. I'm not going to step on. Oh, it is your point, number 2. All right.
You read my mind.
Here we go. Examples of the accumulation effect. And let's start out with this lacrosse legend, Julie Harris.
Yes, I'm working on my sports analogies. So
I
they're not
noticed.
all 100% nerd ball analogies.
Can you please integrate some Formula One analogies
I'll have
here?
to do that. I'm going to rely on you for that, maybe. I have one. Just remind me for our 4th story, because I didn't have that in there. Okay. Number 1, sports analogy. Lacrosse legend Paul Rabiel. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Story. Paul's coach told him that the key to success was taking 100 shots daily, every single day, without exception. For 20 years, Paul found a way to stick to this routine through sickness, bad weather, and holidays. So identify what your reps are in real estate, daily actions with your control that contribute to mastery. And we're going to talk about that with some action steps later. I'm just giving some quick examples. Sometimes it helps to get out of real estate brain for a minute. So number 2, compound interest. You started to talk about that. Saving $5 a day may seem insignificant, but with time and compounding, it can grow into a substantial sum. Similarly, small efforts compound into big results over time. I think this is one of the most fun things to use ChatGPT for.
I was thinking exact same thing. You guys should do exactly what Julie just said. Go to ChatGPT. Whatever you made last year, okay, whatever the number was, I want you to take 10% of that number, and I want you to put it in chat, divide it by 12, and then go to ChatGPT and ask it. Julie and I have been using ChatGPT, frankly, to help us analyze different investment things we're thinking about. We were thinking about selling some of our investment properties in Las Vegas, and I didn't really understand the tax ramifications because these properties we've owned for going on 20 years. And it did this ridiculously good analysis. So now that when I'm talking to my accountant, I'll thoroughly understand how the ramification is going to work, how or the ramifications of recapture is going to work, and all the rest of the stuff. But yes, go to ChatGPT or whatever your preferred chat is, and then drop in simple questions. And you don't even have to be that specific. Say if I were to invest, say you made $100,000 last year. Let's say you made $120 last year. You made $10,000 a month, and let's say ask Chat. So if I invest $1,000 a month in the S&P 500, don't be too overly clever with this. And I do this consistently. $1,000 a month. I do this consistently for the next 5 years. Can you please show me what that's going to compound to over the next, say, 15 or 20 years? And you will be astonished. Now remember, adjust accordingly. If you stick to the 10% rule and adjust accordingly as you can afford to, you will then find the number even grows. You wonder how people retire multi-millionaires. And again, most millionaires don't become millionaires until they're in their 50s and 60s. And most millionaires who are single-digit millionaires have their millions from actually real estate. No surprise there. But if you want to know how people actually accumulate it in America, it's compounding interest of just simply investing in the S&P 500. Nothing fancier than that. They didn't inherit it. They didn't win the lottery. They weren't, NFL stars or movie stars. Nothing like that. Slow and steady, boring. But it is the compounding effect that you have to focus on.
Exactly. So that applies to virtually everything. Let's talk about fitness and health. So a positive example is a 30-minute walk every day might not feel transformative at the time, but it can significantly improve your physical and mental health over a year. I looked it up, again, using ChatGPT. Did you know that when you do 10,000 steps a day, 5 days a week, that by the end of the year, you'll have walked 1,850 miles? Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
So that's the accumulation effect, right? Once you feel better spiritually, emotionally, physically.
I read something actually, and I think I found this on Instagram, is that it showed brain scans of people who are, mostly they don't exercise at all, versus somebody who walks 15 minutes a day, same age, same overall health condition, same profile. And it showed the active parts of the brain for the person that just did that little bit of exercise every day. It was extraordinary.
Radically different, right?
Right. Well, it's the oxygen, but it was, it was an Instagram post because not a lot of details. But the oxygenization of the brain, of your body, of your cells, of all the things, just from going out there. Now, if you're living in where we used to live in Ohio and it's super cold out, maybe you want to think about a treadmill.
Well, there are ways to do it, right? So adjust accordingly. You can go to Orange Theory. You could go to a Zumba class. I just got your mom a book. I don't know if you saw it. It was called Stretching for Seniors. So, because she's going to be inside most of the time. Maybe it's too hot for her. You adjust accordingly.
But my mom's a good example. I mean, she's going to be 85 this year.
Yep.
And we went to a doctor. Oh, dentist was it or something? And the doctor asked what medications they were on, and you could see that it was a nurse, and the nurse was like settling in to like take notes for 10 hours because after all, she's 85.
Getting the notebook out.
And my mom's on nothing. She takes no medicine at 85. Nope. And it's like the nurse again, literally thought she was maybe forgetting, and Julie and I were with her, and she said, nope, she takes no medicine. And that's a testament to my mom. She's not she doesn't frankly eat that well. I mean,
but she does get out every single day.
She does. She exercises. She walks usually for at least 15 minutes, maybe twice, sometimes 3 times a day. And she does it very consistently.
She probably does a half a mile a day, I bet.
She might do
maybe
more than that. Yeah, maybe more than that.
But
But again, she's done that forever. And there you go. So that's pretty extraordinary. So she's a little bit of I think she's coaching Julie and I. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Now, what if you don't do this? A negative example. Adults gain an average of 1 to 2 pounds per year after age 25. After a decade, that's at least 10 to 20 pounds, contributing to a growing obesity crisis. Currently, over 42% of U.S. adults are classified as being obese. That increases the risk of conditions like diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers, joint problems, and the list goes on. So be careful with this. You have the positive accumulation effect, and you have the negative accumulation effect. It's all in your control.
We're not going to give health advice because over on YouTube, they're very sensitive about giving health advice, so we're not going to do that. But we will suggest you listen to our podcast that we did. Did we do it last week or the week before?
Friday.
No, Jules, listen. On the one that we did about achieving success in your 50s and 60s.
Oh, yes. That was I think that was a 2-part series.
Yeah, it was. So go back and listen to that one. It was fairly recent, from maybe a week or 2 ago.
I think it's called You're Never Too Old for Success or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. And so listen on iTunes, obviously Stitcher, Spotify, everywhere, or just listen to it over on YouTube. But we got a lot of great feedback on that. By the way, if you guys want to follow us on Instagram or at least message us, we get a lot of great communication from there. We love the positive feedback that you guys give us. And I mean, honestly, we love it when we hear back from you about what specifically we said on a podcast, or if you're a coaching client that made an impact on your life. So if you'd like to communicate with Julie and I, you can really go one of 2 ways. Most of you will prefer just to message us over on Instagram. It's at Tim and Julie Harris. And obviously give us a follow while you're over there and we'll follow you back. Or if you'd like, you can message me directly, text me directly at 512-758-0206. And this is a good time to mention that this is the time of year when a lot of agents are looking for a new real estate brokerage. And we don't really like to talk about it that much because sometimes people get offended when we talk too much about how happy we are, frankly, from having made our business decision in 2019 to align with eXp Realty. If you're looking for a real estate brokerage upgrade, I want you to seriously consider eXp Realty. We are going to give you 2 paths to follow. Text the letters EXP to 47372. Text the letters EXP to 47372. And we're going to text you back a link to a website which includes all the benefits you get with aligning with Julie and I over at eXp. So basically, we sponsor you at eXp, and we're going to give you a huge array of benefits in addition to all the great things that eXp offers. So just text the letters EXP to 47372. Or if you're ready to join eXp and you have yet to choose a sponsor, or if you're a team or a brokerage and it's going to have more moving parts, please text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. That is my actual cell number, and we will have a private one-on-one conversation about that. All right, Julie, let's get back to work.
All right, number 4, this is something that all of you can do, 100% of our listeners. That's a move for your creative and business growth. Here's an example. What if you were to send 5 thank you or congratulation cards every day, every work day? That might seem small, but over a year, that's more than 1,300 connections to your past clients, your centers of influence, your friends. The accumulation of gratitude and recognition is going to strengthen those relationships and opens doors to future opportunities.
So, Julie, one of our neighbors is Jesse. Do you remember his last name? He's married to Sarah Blakely, who is the founder of Spanx. I don't remember Jesse's last name. Anyway, he's one of our neighbors. Him and his wife have 3 or 4 houses.
I think it starts with an E.
Yeah, we should research that.
Yeah.
But in any event, he was talking about recently on his social how he every year writes relatively long form notes of gratitude to people in his life that had
that's
had an
cool.
impact. And he showed a picture, I think it was on Instagram, of the, probably frankly 300, maybe even more little handwritten cards he's sending out. And so it's a really, and this guy, let's just be honest, him and his wife are billionaires, and he's still doing this. And it wasn't just to like, presidents and global leaders. It was to the guy that cuts his grass. It was to the guy that cuts his hair.
That's really
It was
cool.
to somebody that really had an impact on his life just because they took, whatever it was. And Julie and I try to do those things as well. And you guys know if you join the newsletter, that's our way of communicating with you. If you message us, we message you. Really, we love to keep those channels of communication open. One of the commitments Julie and I made, even as we became more, I don't even know what the word is, influential, was we were never going to move ourselves away from being in direct communication with coaching clients. Even as our coaching business grew, even as all the things, we did not ever want to be more than 1 degree away from all of you, and we've kept to that. Frankly, I'm quite proud of myself and you for that. We didn't, stick our noses up in the air and act like we were some sort of, aristocrats. We've always, kept our boots on the ground and remembered our formidable years when you and I were selling real estate. And I think that's really important that you guys can stay on that same path yourselves. The more successful you become, the more important it is for you to stay in contact with the same energies you had when you were building your business. So hopefully you guys are in alignment with all the things we're suggesting. And a great way to do that is obviously showing gratitude towards other people through personal, direct, handwritten notes.
Yes, absolutely. That's really cool that he does that. I like
Yeah.
how personal it is. Okay, so action steps. What are you supposed to do about all this? Well, we just talked about one thing you can do is the letters of congratulations or thank you and gratitude. The first thing on this list is to identify your reps. Remember we talked about the lacrosse star that was taking swings every single day no matter what, rain or shine. What is 1 or 2 small action steps that you can start taking daily that will move you closer to your goals? Here are some examples. Contact at least 5 new prospects every day. That's something all of you can do. If you're already doing that, make it 10, make it 15.
But Julie, these types of notes are great. I hadn't read this part, but every time we don't give more drill down information, I go a little bit crazy.
That's okay.
Because
Fire away.
we're not attaching significance to telling them what to do and giving them suggestions on actions to take, because it means nothing. If you say make more contacts, and I don't know why,
Well,
I don't know
let's
who.
be specific.
Well, okay. Well, here's what you do. You guys got to join Premier Coaching.
Yep.
And when you do, we're going to give you the real estate treasure map, which is your fill-in-the-blank business and life plan. I'm going to give you guys a real quick overview of what the output of the treasure map is going to be, aside from your business plan and your life plan and setting goals and all those types of things and creating action plans. And by the way, this is like a 70-page thing, so it's not a one-pager. But there's something called the magic number. It's our magic number formula. And I'm going to tell you guys, remember what I'm about to tell you. Here's the simplest, most honest real estate business plan you'll ever have. If you want to have consistent income, if you want to have time freedom, if you want to have leverage, you have to be a listing agent. That's just an accepted truth that if you've not yet learned it or accepted it, hopefully you're not going to fight against what I just said. That's number 1. Number 2, if you have 5 listings in many markets or 10 listings or 3 listings, it depends on your price point. You're going to be able to build an entire business just off being a listing agent. And let me give you an example. If you have to earn $25,000 a month, and I'm going to keep this easy because I was an English major, and frankly, it's easy for me to do. I'm going to keep the math simple for myself. And let's say you live in a marketplace where your average commission is $30,000. Now remember, Julie and I are from Columbus, Ohio, so we only dreamed of average commissions that high. But let's say we've had obviously thousands of coaching clients that have that as their average and higher at this point. But yes, so your average commission is $25,000. Your overhead per month is $25,000. So if you are focusing on being a listing agent, let's say you had 5 listings at all times. How many houses would you have sell? And these are priced right, conditions right, locations right. How many of those 5 homes, these are 5 listing contracts signed, 5 active listings at all times. How many of those will go in contract every month? In many markets right now, let's use Austin as an example. It's not a really buoyant market. It's a slower market. Las Vegas, for example, many of the days on the market's now 60 days, 90 days. So let's say to have your goal, the minimum amount you have to earn every month is 25 grand. Obviously you have 5 listings at all times. Realistically, without working any buyers, you're going to have 2 closings per month. If you have 5 listings at all times, you're going to have the market through the MLS sell 2 of your listings per month. Now, the work part is getting to the 5 listings at all times. But the 5 listings, focus on that. So if you had 5 listings at all times, your whole job, the initial part is essentially, doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level, is build up to the 5 listings. Along the way, some of them are going to sell. You know, you're going to be celebratory that they sold, but at the same time, you're going to be frustrated that you have to go and replace them, right? But you're going to build up to 5. You develop the mental mindset. You've developed the muscles to actually keep to 5 listings at all times. You now have consistent cash flow. You have 2 closings per month. You're making $600,000 a year, $50,000 a month from those 2 closings that are selling because your average commission is 25 grand. Now here's where the numbers come in, which got me on this little tangent. You have to make a minimum of 5 contacts to decision-making adults every day about buying or selling real estate. And look, we can sprinkle in other things. Centers of influence and past clients, they don't count. Social prospecting, they don't count. All the easier calls that don't require much sales skills, they don't count. I'm talking 5 contacts, and I'm not talking no social media posts, no liking up the no. Conversations with decision-making adults about selling their home, and you have to. That means the expireds, the for sale by owners, the notice of defaults if you have them, the probate listings. We give you a list of 20 different sources to call. Those are the people that have their hands in the air right now that said, yes, I want to sell my house. You guys spend billions of dollars, literally, every year building your brand, working on marketing, trying to buy leads. Look how much Zillow makes per year selling buyer leads to agents. Guys, if you had 5 listings at all times, trust me when I tell you, that's going to equate to at least 15, 20, 30 buyer leads. Great, well, call it, about 5 of them will be great. But the rest, buyer leads per month that you don't have to pay for because those listings are generating all those buyer leads for you. Are you following me with this logic? Do you have to have a big brand and marketing and all the rest of it to have 5 listings? Nope. You just have to have the skill set to be essentially pick up that listing when it doesn't sell or help that for sale by owner, the yet to be listed property sell. You guys getting what we're saying here? It's a skills-based game. Everybody else is playing the influencer game. Everyone else is playing the I want to be famous game. Everyone else is playing in the same pool and it is oversaturated. There are too many people that are trying too damn hard to be famous. You got to be the one that's focused on your skills. And when you do that, when you know your real estate magic number, when you actually know your numbers, you're going to be at peace. Because you know every single day you have to make 5 high impact contacts. And once you develop the skills and doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level, building momentum, you're going to get better. You're going to set appointments. You're going to follow our listing process. You're going to send the pre-listing pack. You're going to pre-qualify that, the whole thing. You're going to follow our 7-step listing process, and you will easily get to 5 listings and maintain 5 listings. And what do you get to stop doing when you do that? You can stop working with buyers if you choose to. Yes, I said it. You can set buyers aside, get your nights and weekends back. What do you do with your buyer leads? You refer them off to other agents in your marketplace who will never learn how to work with listings, and you charge them whatever the market will bear. Zillow charges 40%. I think that's usurious personally, but guess what? It's your business. Decide what you want to do. You can then focus on being a listing agent. Your whole existence as a real estate agent becomes getting to the 5 listings at all times and replacing them when it sells. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not more complicated than that. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about long drip campaigns and emails and direct mail and fancy websites. And I listened to this podcast the other day. It was actually, I won't say what it is because we have a good working relationship with them and I don't want them to hate on us. But it was someone who was interviewing somebody who's supposedly a real estate marketing expert. And I listened to the whole thing because I just want to hear what, I want to make sure there's nothing that's getting by me. And it was so garbagey. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest. All he talked about was the focus on becoming famous, becoming an influencer.
Yuck.
And so if I were interviewing this guy, this is what I would say. All right, so explain to me, Bob, why is it so important that agents become famous and agents become influencers? Well, explain it to me. Well, so the marketplace will think of them when it comes to buying and selling real estate. All right, so if every agent in the marketplace is doing the same damn thing, because it's passive and it's easy and let's be honest, it's kind of fun, where's the point of differentiation? There's not. If everyone's essentially doing the same marketing, the same advertising, there's nothing. It's just too much. It's overwhelming to that particular consumer. So what's the output? Oh, you're going to have people call you because they see you as the expert in the community. Okay, so that's the ideal scenario. So you're going to have to spend all this money, all this time trying to learn how to do the perfect YouTube video. So you're going to get people to call you. That's what you're saying? Yes, because those are the best leads, the ones that are calling you. Okay, yes, that's true. People that are calling you are easier leads than people you're calling that you don't have a relationship with. 100% true. But what's the goal, Bob? You haven't told me why I'm doing this marketing branding stuff. Well, it's so you can, get people to call you, and then what? Well, so then they'll do business with you. I mean, okay, I get it. Why didn't you just call them? Why don't you just call an expired? Why don't you just literally learn how to call an expired right now, learn to take a listing. Take 5 listings. You don't then have to learn whether or not your lighting was perfect on your YouTube video, or how to edit it, or how to spend money hitting the boost button on Instagram, and do all these other things, hoping and praying that in the sea of the sameness of all this marketing and branding, that your stuff's going to stand out and someone's going to call you. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Now, if you still want to do all that stuff, because it is fun, and it is fun, do that as a support mechanism to the proactive lead generation. I beg all of you to take this seriously, especially in this new market, because guess what AI is going to do to the agents that only know how to market and brand? It is going to make it so even Lazy Larry the lender, well, of course, yeah, okay, who was the gal's name we thought of? We see her billboard sometimes.
Lois the lender?
The agents, anyway, there's a billboard that we always make fun of when we were in North Carolina, because frankly, it's a really good billboard. It is. But I'm sure, but your brain tunes it out. But it's this agent who's trying to,
an agent one. That's right. I
you
can't
remember?
remember now.
Yeah. Anyway, so but the funny thing is, it's this picture of this. It's actually a couple, and they're probably in their 60s, and that doesn't say they're in real estate.
Oh yeah, it's when we sit at the light from the grocery store,
Yeah.
and we keep on looking at this, and they look great. They obviously dressed up for the picture.
Yeah.
They look happy.
It's a
they've
flippin'
got a nice pose.
It's a billboard.
But nowhere does it say, and they've got their phone number across the bottom. I think they got their email address. It doesn't say what they do. Are they insurance? Are they selling screen doors? Are they real estate? Who are these people?
They're probably insurance and screen doors.
It could be. They might have to be.
So go to your MLS, look to see how many, I'm going to just focus on expireds, but there's so many other sources we teach you guys to chase in Premier Coaching. But look to see how many expired listings there were in just the past 2 weeks. How many of those get relisted and sold in the next 6 months? Almost all of them. Who's your biggest competitor? The agent that failed to sell it, the previous listing agent. Your competitor has already proven their inability to sell the house. That's not really much of a competitor. That's the reason, if you focus on what we teach you guys in Premier Coaching, it truly is going to be the next level in your business and personal lives. Sorry for my tangent.
No, it's all good. You clarified greatly, and I have to direct them, because you talked a lot about different lead generation, and to focus on the most likely to list. Things like circle prospecting don't work, relying on your branding and your videos and all that. I want to refer them and remind them, just in case we have some new listeners, that it hasn't been more than 2 weeks, because we got so many great comments on our series about lead sources worst to best.
Oh yeah.
We got a lot of positive comments on that. It hasn't been that long. I think that was a 3 or 4 part series. So if you're confused at all, or you're wondering, why do we go back to things like for sale by owners, expired, probate, builders, things like that, as the most likely to list, we have a huge discussion and some stats and some facts from that podcast series. So refer to that and maybe get the notes to it too.
My real estate brain loves the fact that nobody talks about the real way to generate listing leads, which is proactive lead generation. I still think as a listing agent, and I love the fact that so many agents don't know how to do it. That's as a listing agent. But as someone who's been coaching and training agents for over 20 years, it makes me, honest to God, it's soul crushing that so many of you are losing so much money and potential.
And time.
Believing this, all the snake oil stuff is actually going to work over time. You got to just trust your intuition on all of this and do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level, and be patient, because it takes a long time to really get to the point where, yes, you're going to become a great listing agent. Then you're going to learn how to run a business. Then you're going to add a couple assistants, and we're not going to prescribe very many to you because we want you to run massive margins. And then over time, you're going to start accumulating assets, and you're going to become a millionaire. Then a single-digit millionaire. Then a deca-millionaire, and then on and on and on. All these things are in your future, provided you actually learn how to be a listing agent. It's almost impossible to build any kind of significance, financial significance, focusing on buyers. Anyway, tangent over. Next point.
Thank you. Officially. No worries. It's all good. All right. So the next thing, speaking of what you just described, point number 2, create non-negotiable habits. Do your reps every day. Do your contacts every day, but do them to the right sources, as Tim just prescribed for you. Remember the lacrosse guy, 100 shots every day. Consistency matters more than perfection.
That's real estate treasure map, right? Make those
100%.
contacts every single day, whether you feel like it or not.
Especially if you don't.
Well, I'll give you guys a little secret. You are never going to feel like doing it. Never
Ever.
once. And if you do, and I had one coaching client that loved to prospect. I hated it, but I did it anyway because I knew it paid off, literally. But I had one coaching client that loved doing it, and it was a lady, and she was unbelievably powerful at it.
Yeah, well, she probably loved doing it when she was getting results,
Well,
right?
it wasn't even her mindset. It wasn't like she had some, mindset voodoo. She just loved talking to people.
She just loved to talk to people.
She did.
Well, but that's the right mindset to have, is to be of service, right?
Yeah.
When you reframe it like that, instead of thinking, I'm going to get through this, or, oh my gosh, I've got to make 5 contacts.
I've had one of thousands, is the
I know,
point.
me too. It's very rare that's, but you can develop that. You can,
You know what the things are. So here's the funny part. Ask the things. I'm asking you now, make a mental list of the things that you will never do for lead generation in real estate. And you'll notice that the things that you're thinking of right now are the very same things. They're going to put the most money in your pocket the quickest.
Yes, if you did them right now, you would get results.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Every one of you have the opportunity to be killer listing agents the next, say, 60 to 90 days. But you won't do the work. Why? Why?
No,
because
they don't get to have a why.
Well, the why is because you guys are seduced by the easy button.
Yeah.
The why is because you do not understand the importance of building momentum, the accumulation effect. That's why you believe that everything should be easy. And this is true even for the folks of you that are half-life, like Julie and I, right? A half-life? That's one way of saying it. Midlife? I don't know what the hell words you want to use.
Goodness. But
the moral of the story is that even those of you who are older, look how you've been alive long enough. You know nothing of significance happens in your life easily. You know it should take time. But look how you're starting to fall prey to the easy button and believing, oh, I'm just going to do this branding and this marketing thing. Oh, all these, the person trying to sell it. I watched this great webinar, and they said if you did this, you build this funnel, all of a sudden all these leads are going to be coming. Da, 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 da. What's your goal? Why are you doing it? Well, I want to generate leads so I can do transactions. Well, why don't you call the people right now in your marketplace that are jumping up and down? Say, yes, please help me sell my house. That will be the smarter way. The cost you no amount of money will require time and skill, but once you get there, think how proud of yourself you're going to be.
And then lather, rinse, repeat.
Yes, for the rest of your life, by the way.
Yes, so point number 3, track your progress. Use a journal, an app, a calendar to record your daily actions. Seeing your streak builds motivation and accountability. You can hire a coach to track your goals. Hey, you know any great coaches? Go to Premier Coaching. Will hold you accountable. I have to say, this is one of the things that makes Duolingo work, is that it shows you your streak.
Duolingo is?
I'm sorry, thank you for that. Duolingo is a language learning app, right? So they know that it's easy to get frustrated, and you can have a 3-day streak, and then you're like, oh, this is getting too hard. So one of the things that they do when you have a great session, it'll say, congratulations, you learned 13 new words today. Why don't you post it on your social media? That way you can celebrate your wins incrementally.
They've gamified learning, but
Yes.
really what matters, that's a great example, Julie, is that it's the celebrating. So what's a win? A win obviously is taking a listing, making money. But a win is also the day that you followed your real estate treasure map, your daily business plan, which is also included when you join Premier Coaching. Just go to premiercoaching.com, right? And you get the first level of Premier Coaching for free, including daily semi-private coaching calls. You can join Premier Coaching now for free. But a win is when you followed your plan and you did usually it's 3 to 5 things every single day, your minimum standards. Whether you actually had a commission check as a result, the win is when you actually did what you didn't want to do when you didn't want to do it, and you did it consistently. So if you have because what happens is you will, without you really consciously knowing it, you're going to get better at keeping to the discipline. You're going to get better at really pushing through the resistance to do what you don't want to do. You're going to get better at seeing the truth and trusting your intuition about what is BS and what isn't. You're going to get better at the actual skills of making the contacts. You're going to get better at pushing your ego down and focusing on being of service to the other person that you're trying to help when you do pick up that phone. You are going to get better, but you have to stay consistent, and that goes back to the accumulation effect. It's like building muscles, basically.
The improvement that coaching clients make when they do the incremental work happens so much faster than somebody who keeps procrastinating it, because they're learning something new every day, right? It's hard. You can, for example, you can talk about a pre-listing package all day long, but until they see that they need it, they don't value it as much. You can talk about prospecting and what scripts you might use and what objection handlers, but until you're making the calls, it doesn't really mean anything.
That's a good point, because she's saying right now, those of you, even if you are joining, you're joining Premier Coaching, you cannot use "I just joined, I'm going to learn" as your excuse not to do the work. We want you to earn while you learn. We're insistent upon it. So those of you who are perpetual studiers and getting ready to get started types, and you know who you are, you're laughing at yourself right now. Well, guess what? You're burning too much daylight, too much life is being spent getting ready to get started. And you notice how you've gone from one thing to the other, you never actually stayed the course, and you never actually built the momentum. Stop that. It's not working for you. Okay? Imagine where you could be a year from now if you actually just drilled down and focused on becoming an unbelievably powerful listing agent. And that's what Premier Coaching is all about. That's what this podcast is all about. Do you notice, dear listener, that Julie and I are the only ones that are saying the things that we're saying? We're the only ones, especially on YouTube, frankly, that are telling you guys the truth about marketing and branding, the stuff that you are, and you know it's the truth because you've already tried it, or you know people that have tried it, and you're seeing that they'll say, oh, I'm getting great results. Having someone say that they recognize you from your Instagram feed at the grocery store is not the same as actually doing a transaction. You're focusing on the wrong thing.
We did it ourselves.
Yeah, remember, we've been there, done that. So we speak from experience, but really, frankly, at this point, we've learned far more from our thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, really, of coaching calls. Next, right. Julie, is point number 4.
Reflect and adjust. So evaluate monthly or quarterly or even after each call. Are your daily actions moving you closer to your long-term goals? Adjust your strategy as needed. Again, this is where coaching comes into place.
Well, it's also a real estate treasure map too.
Yes. So, be introspective. But number 5, we talked about celebrating small wins. And then number 6, we go back to lead generation. Commit to learning at least one new lead generation technique this year. Aim for a strategy that can net you at least one additional deal per month. With the average commission currently in the country being $10,000, this one habit could accumulate to $120,000 annually, a testament to the accumulation effect in action. That's just doing one new lead generation technique, getting just one new listing. You talked about maintaining 5 at all times. Think about what that accumulation will be. And I want to tell a quick story here, and then we're going to wrap up because we've already covered what's underneath there.
Cool.
Okay, so one of my favorite things to do with one-on-one coaching clients, when they have done these things, they had a great week, they followed their treasure map, they hit their contact numbers, they had great conversations, they used their scripts, right? Let's say that they made 20 contacts, they set 4 appointments, and they took 3 listings or some combination of listings and buyers. They did what they were supposed to do. I will ask them, what is the total amount of time that you have invested in that? And that'll be X number of hours, right? We're talking about only 1 week. And I'll ask them, what is the potential income you created as a result? So they look at, the value of the listings, what the commission's going to be, and they project. And that's without counting for any spin-off from doing open houses from the listings or anything else. And then we're going to figure out that the value of that work just from that week equals, let's say it's even $30,000, $40,000 worth of commission. Then I love to take the calculator out and we'll say, all right, let's say that you operated at that level. Maybe not 4 weeks a month. Let's be realistic. You got stuff going on. You got closings. You got kids, whatever. Let's say you did that 3 weeks a month and you only did that 10 months a year. And we spin it up and we say, what would the accumulation effect be, assuming that you continue these good habits that you've already seen results from? And it's always some crazy number. It's like, I've never done one where it's less than $500,000 in income.
By the way, I talked with Julie on our 6-mile daily walk today, and she is looking for 3 more coaching clients. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to be personally coached by Julie, I'm going to give you 2 warnings. Number 1, she's very particular in who she's going to coach. And number 2, she's not cheap. So there you go. So if you're interested, if you're being interested in being coached by Julie, you have to pass through the fires of Modor first. That's me. So text me directly at 512-758-0206 and send me a little bit of information about yourself, your business. And I am purposely making it so that you have to take multi-steps before you get to Julie, because frankly, when I didn't do that, she would get flooded with people that frankly aren't qualified. They aren't ready to be coached by her personally, or frankly, they couldn't afford her. So if you're looking for who is arguably the best real estate coach in the nation, though I did win the Inman Award from Brad for Best Ranter. That's okay. That was a few years ago. I got Best Ranter. Anyway, so yes, if you want to be considered, do text me directly at 512-758-0206 and send me in the text a little information about yourself, and I will we'll go back and forth a bit, and then I'll pass your information along to Julie. And then on the call you'll have with her, you will then interview her, and she's going to interview you. And if you guys are a good fit, then you'll move forward. So just keep that in mind. If you're ready, if you frankly are ready in your career, as many of you are, especially our podcast listeners, on iTunes, we find that a lot of you are at that point in your careers and you are ready to go to the next level. So just text me directly at 512-758-0206. And 3 clients, correct?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so in conclusion, the accumulation effect is what we've been talking about on today's podcast. It is powerful, and you can control how it shapes your life. Small, consistent actions lead to remarkable results, while neglecting daily habits can result in undesired outcomes. Which do you choose? So here's your challenge. Identify at least one positive habit and commit to it daily for the next 30 days. Reflect on how it transforms your mindset, your health, your career. Remember that you have the power to create momentum starting today, but make it a positive accumulation effect.
And stay really close to people. Podcasts, I have to say, it's fascinating. Finally, podcasts are being seen.
Yes.
Would you hear that podcasts are essentially being seen now as a replacement for regular media?
That's right.
insane.
That's exciting, though.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing, we
Thousands of podcasts.
We might have close to 10,000 podcasts. It might be maybe 7,000 or 8,000. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. And so we've been doing this for, I don't remember, honestly. Years. 2012 maybe?
Yeah.
And we do it every day except on the weekends, as you guys know. We take a little bit of time off during the holidays. But we're seeing a real massive change happen in podcasting, the quality of the podcast. And people have moved away. I mean, Julie and I used to have a very formalized podcast. We used to over worry about just a bunch of silly things. And the people that are producing content that is truly helpful and meaningful to folks, they're starting to take these leadership positions in the country, and it's extraordinary.
Very interesting, isn't it?
And it's non-traditional people too. I mean, look at Joe Rogan; he's the best example.
I know.
His podcast, he does basically
Does
5.
a ton of them.
He does a ton for 3 hours. I mean, he might be the only podcaster that works harder than us.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so he'll have over 1 million downloads
for one of them, right?
for one of his damn podcasts, which is more than all of the cable news channels have in viewership, like over 3 days or something crazy, or maybe it's per day. I don't remember the statistics.
It's epic.
The reason I'm sharing this with you is this is going to be a great opportunity for you to purge from you any form of media that is having an adversarial effect on your mindset, on your health, on your wealth accumulation, on your spirituality. So I want you guys to put everything through a test. And this is a perfect time of year. Any time of year is a perfect time. But take this test. After you listen to something, after you view something, after you're around someone, how do you feel? Seriously, that's it. And trust your gut. How do you feel? Do you feel excited, motivated? Do you feel appreciative? Do you feel happy to be alive? Or do you feel scared? Do you feel
frustrated or confused sometimes?
Exactly. Are you going to Facebook groups that after you've gone to the Facebook group, you figure you're starting to get these terrorizing fears that the world's coming to an end? You need to build a dugout. All this stuff is very pervasive, and what happens is you'll go down a wrong path. And again, I'm going to really drill down here and help you guys hopefully to understand. All it takes is one wrong path, and one wrong path brings in another path. Because your brain is going to be searching, and frankly, the Instagram and all the other algorithms will feed you more of the same stuff. Like I love my Instagram feed. I get a lot of great positive things, but I can see how the pernicious stuff tries to sneak in. And if I give it too much attention, if I get YouTube's the same way, I watched something on World War II history, and it mentioned like Hitler or something, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see.
That's all they think that you want to see.
Yeah, like what the hell?
I know. I watch a lot of dog rescue stuff, and then all of a sudden I get all these neglected, abused, like time after time after time. It's like, oh my gosh.
Enough already, people.
Enough.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So you do have to curate it, and I do say, stop this post or hide this post or whatever the reason is. You do have to be very careful about what you're letting into your mindset.
And it works when you do it that way.
It does.
So use this opportunity to go through your life and run everything that you're intaking, information-wise, all the content you're consuming, and run it through the filter. How does this make me feel?
Yep.
Do I feel abundant? Do I feel like I can go out there and be of service to other people? Do I feel happy, appreciative?
Motivated.
Motivated, really. And if it doesn't, whatever you're consuming, remove it urgently. And that includes, frankly, a lot of people too. Like people in your life that are also in a downward adult, negative spiral in their lives. Because here's the reason I'm really, hopefully, making this point and making you guys laugh a little bit, is because it just compounds. So there's the positive accumulation effect and there's the negative accumulation effect. And a lot of you, without knowing it, are in a negative spiral. And you've been in it for sometimes years. And your mind is looking for that little endorphin hit of reinforcement of the more bad news. You guys remember after, what was it, September 11th, I think? When all the news channels went to breaking news, like every damn thing was breaking news. I remember Wolf Blitzer after, it was September 11th, I remember. Breaking news, Wolf Blitzer, everything was urgent, urgent, urgent. And then the news media completely changed after that, trying to and how many people never have broken free of that addiction to that sort of, flashing light telling me that the world's coming to an end type stuff. When you remove it, we talk about this on the podcast frequently, when you remove literally all forms of media except the media that's having a positive impact on your life, you will feel so much better. If you are, if you've been someone who's been caught in that spiral for a long period of time, it's going to be very hard for you to break free of it because you identify with it. It's become your community. You've probably created friendship circles that are also essentially thinking the same thoughts from the same forms of media. You guys also probably compare notes with those people about, did you listen to MSNBC or Fox News last night? They were talking about this, they were talking about that. Did you listen types or did you hear types, the gossipy types? If you're one of those people, you got to really think about the ramifications of that. When you remove that from your life, what you're going to discover is there is another version of you that's not so hidden, that's not so deep down in you, that wants to be of service to other people, that wants to be in a state of appreciation, that wants to feel more alive, that wants to feel more of service, more connected, wants to feel more love, more gratitude, wants to experience more abundance. But that's only going to happen if you remove all the other crap that's burying that person alive.
That's right, and there is so much good stuff out there to listen to, but you do have to look for it. And we should probably do a podcast. Maybe we'll talk about it on the Friday show. We should warn them about the Friday show.
Yeah.
About some of our favorite podcasts. I listened to one that's 10 minutes long. It's called 5 Good News Stories. And they just go through they're entertaining, they're fun stories. And it just, I do that on a dog walk. That's a nice positive thing. I'm doing 365 days of the Bible. You can find things that make you feel good. Hopefully this podcast is one of those. But replace the stuff that makes you feel yucky. I don't know why you'd spend any time on that.
Well, they're addicted to it. That's why.
Sure.
That's the bottom line.
You can replace that addiction with an addiction to good stuff.
Oh, you can, but you're going to go through stages of withdrawal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are, someone who's really addicted to that stuff, and it's
I'm suggesting to make the bridge, not to create a vacuum of just canceling everything. Cancel everything, yes, that's negative and makes you feel bad.
It.
But instead of having a void of nothingness, because stuff will fill in that gap that maybe you don't want, especially based on maybe a yucky past history.
Nature abhors a vacuum,
That's
is what
right.
you're saying.
Instead, bridge that gap by finding things. And the cool thing about podcasts is you can try out things. It's free, right?
Right.
There's been a couple that I tried out and I'm like, oh my gosh, that intro music, I can't take it. Or it was just a podcast about nothing. And then I delete that. I stopped following it. You can try things out.
But that's the ultimate cool thing about podcasting in general, is that you can try things out. You can, essentially create your own experience. Mm-hmm. You can, frankly, expose yourself to new thoughts.
Yep.
I intentionally look for countervailing opinions on different things. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, I listened to a podcast where someone was talking about marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
I look for things that are going to challenge my, firmly held beliefs.
Reinforce or negate what your beliefs are.
Exactly. I like to be mentally, emotionally challenged about some of these things. But yeah, so listen, guys, thank you for keeping this number one Listen To Daily podcast for real estate agents in at least the United States. It is our pleasure and our honor. Without you knowing it, you're helping Julie and I to be in alignment with our truest and our highest and truest purpose on this planet, which is being of service to all of you. Please do give us a 5-star review over in iTunes and a pithy comment why you like this podcast, why it's making an impact on your life. It certainly helps us to do so. If you can't do that over on iTunes, please consider doing that over on our Google business page. Anything that really any way that you can let the world know how we've had a positive impact on your life, hopefully we have, will help us, and that's your cost of admittance for tomorrow's podcast.
There you go. Well said.
All right, you guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.